Alright guys, it is actually 2300 hours guys. It is 11 PM. It may be a bit dark here because the window is dark. Anyways, I just felt like it. In today's episode, I'm gonna give you the most honest review I can ever give about the DJI Avata. Alright, what's up fam, Rahim here and welcome to another episode. Now, just a short story. I just want to put together something, right? I have been spending the whole afternoon trying to figure out a script, right, for this episode. Yes, I do script my stuff just so that I don't forget things, but I was showering actually, and it's like 11 PM and I was about to go to sleep, but I just had this like revelation of like, Rahim, you are digressing from what you are trying to say, okay? The script led me to a place that I was like more on like pointers after pointers after pointers, and it's not describing what I truly feel about the DJI Avata for this past month flying it. So I felt that, hey, right, just go for it. Yes, have your script, have your guideline, but just say what you need to say about the drone. And guys, I may forget a lot of things, I may miss out some stuff also, but just let me go through this, alright? I just need to tell you how I feel about the DJI Avata. I've been flying it for the past month. Okay, let's start off with the design wise about the drone. I really like the design. It's really it's well built. I would say it's the most handsome whoop that I have ever come across. Alright, this is the Gap RC Sunnylife 25. Right, it is a very well built drone. You could also just build it yourself. This is considered a DIY whoop. So for those just joining in, whoops are this kind of drone. Basically, some are considered ducted, some are considered just prop guards. Right, ducted ones are meant to so-called like maybe that one here. Right, so I find that the Avata is somewhere in between. It kinda looks ducted, but I don't really think it pulls in as much air as it should. But okay, then I'll just consider these as prop guards, right? The thing about whoops, these are drones that are usually used for close proximity, nearby flying, indoors, near people, especially near people. I mean, because of its protection here, right? So there's little to no risk of when you bumped into someone, then it's not gonna injure, alright? But of course, any drone at any speed can still cause harm to anyone, so please don't be flying near people unless you got clear permissions to do so. So this is DJI's second entry into the FPV market. When I mean FPV market is FPV standing for first person view. Those guys that are flying like the Mavics, the Minis, the Phantoms, Inspire, all that, right? Those are camera drones, and where ideally you should be flying from the view of a screen. But with FPV, you are flying in goggles, piloting the drone yourself, right? Every single movement, every single correction is by you, and that also means that there is, if you are in so-called true FPV, fully into manual mode, now that's every single movement is by you, right? So if a crash happens, likely it's by pilot error. Anyways, I'll get to about the crashing about this drone later on, right? Previously, of course, was the DJI FPV. Now that, in comparison between the two, that is a drone that you would want speed, alright? You want to soar the sky, really push it and do acrobatic moves. Not as great as a DIY drone, but I'm jittery just by the whole energy of things, right? So just bear with me. It is something that is more for the skies and open fields and the high speeds, alright? If you leave it up to me, I will never fly this in the skies. I'd rather just fly this indoors, right? I think you've seen some of my videos about flying indoors. Okay, so anyways, getting back to the drone, balancing wise is quite good, but I felt that this as a whoop, you have given this drone small motors. DJI FPV had big motors, this has smaller motors. I kind of feel that the motors is kind of small to take the weight of the overall drone, right? Even without the battery, it is still quite a hefty weight. Okay, maybe I'll just show you a pop-up of the different weight of these two drones on the screen right now. You have a heavy drone by build. Of course, it's meant to be heavy because I feel that this in itself is rigid, very durable. Okay, so trusting the whole build, yeah, I think it is a tough build drone. Battery wise, okay, once inserted at the back, balances it very well. It has sensors, right? I'm glad that it only has sensors at the bottom, because at least it helps with some level of positioning or avoidance, but not to the point that there is front sensors. Some may be wondering, DJI, why did you not put front sensors on this drone? But I know exactly why. Because this drone is meant to fly in proximity. If I were to fly, I tried out the Mini, right? Trying to get it like 2 to 3 feet towards me, to hand catch it, I can't, because it senses that, hey, there's an obstacle in front, it slows down or even comes to a total stop that I cannot push it further forward. So if you had such a drone with the intention to fly indoors and it had obstacle avoidance, worse still, you cannot switch it off for whatever reason, then it will not perform for you. But I'm glad that this drone does not have it. If I felt that I needed to fly in a tight space, let's not think about any wrongdoing here, just saying that what if it's for creative shots, alright? Going through indoors, under chairs, above, I don't know, going through a staircase landing, for example, I don't know. Handling portion, the flying portion in my notes is later on. By design wise, it's a win for me. I totally agree with the design. I'm very glad that also like any other of their drones, right, all their cameras come with the, what's this thing called, like the camera guard. Okay, so oh, by the way, can you see it? Okay, that's a Freewell filter. The brand is from Freewell. They gave me a few filters to try out, not just I think this is the UV filter, but there are also a few other filters. About the filters, I'll put a link in the description, but else I'll also mention about how you use filters on this drone, not about like just pasting it, as in like how do you practically use the drones in conjunction with the settings of the drone, right? In upcoming episode, actually, it's gonna be this Friday. So for those of you that are not subscribed, do subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Camera, awesome, because drones will always have a lot of vibration. I think they took some cues from the, not from the Sunnylife, but from other whoops, that there will be a lot of vibrations and movements, right? Oscillations of the drone. So you can only tune a drone so much, because at the end of the day, due to conditions, maybe windy or whatsoever, there will be additional vibration. So this drone has actually bumpers for the camera, right? Not bumpers lah, I mean like cushioning for the camera. It's only a single axis gimbal. So the thing about the single axis, right, you may think that then how do you stabilize the shot in those really super windy times? I may be able to catch some oscillations of the drone, right, in the FPV feed. But that's the thing, the camera, you have the option of stabilizing it through their already proven rock steady, very stable shots that can come out of the footage that you get. And also there's horizon lock. Horizon lock is something interesting. Practically locks your horizon in perfect view all the time, even though the drone is swaying side to side and doing its thing, right? But you will always have your horizon leveled. What I do not like actually is kinda, I don't feel that the filter is very secure. Okay, because it is really, there are notches at the top and bottom for you to really just clip in your filter. I mean, the filters are great, it is lightweight and everything, right? It's just this like Singapore 5 cent, 10 cent kind of piece of glass here. Just put it on and it just clicks on. But to me, I've had filters, the Freewell filters for the DJI Avata, and it was really secure. You really needed to nudge it in. For the Avata, I just felt like light crashes could dislodge the filter anytime. And anyway, it's not the fault of the filters, it's the design wise. They were meant to take filters in that manner, because without the filters there were already notches there ready for it. Kind of mixed feeling about that. I hope I don't crash this drone, of course. The camera, unlike the DJI FPV, it shows only your FPV feed inside the goggles. Whatever adjustments you make to the settings, it won't be reflected, unlike the DJI FPV. But here's the downside, is that I don't know my settings. I may have switched off and then switched on my drone again and send it again, and then I may have pressed record, and the output of the image is the one that's adjusted with all the camera settings, and it may not be the one that I'm liking. So the downside about the camera is, yes, I told you that rock steady and horizon steady is awesome, but I just wished that DJI had given the option to show me my settings of the camera in the on-screen display of the goggles. Alright, at least while I'm flying, I'm like, oh, I have rock steady on, I shouldn't have that on, I should switch it off. It's only the end footage when I review it, then oh, I had it on. Oops, too late already. If you were using your drone for a project, then it will make or break the situation. You can't change it, by the way. If it's super stabilized, horizon lock, but actually your client wanted a more dynamic shot, you cannot undo that already. So that's the downside about the camera. It's not the camera's fault, it's I wished I could have seen the settings inside the camera. That's some of the other things that I kinda didn't like, but still not a make or break situation, right? Battery life on this drone, when I was flying it, right, it totally did not feel like the 18 minutes that was said about it. It kind of really felt a bit shorter, more than 10 minutes. Didn't feel as long as 15 minutes though. So kind of like, if you are gonna be getting this drone for projects, right, just stand by extra batteries. You'll definitely need it. By the way, I also did fly indoors and did crash indoors this drone, only because of pilot error, right? Too complacent. So something about I gotta pull you back a bit. Something about the so-called ducts, or how to say, prop guards, right? They have very little tolerances, right? That's only about like estimated 1 mm, not even 2, confirm not 2 mm, just 1 mm of tolerance. That's great, right? Supposedly if you want to have a ducted effect, but at the same time, there is no guarantee that this will not break props, because I have broken props. I crashed once at a single impact while the props were still spinning. Some scuff marks, alright, in this area. That's because the moment on impact, the props hit the prop guards on the inner side and it immediately broke the props. Especially if your props are spinning at high RPMs, right, they're gonna break off. Example, for my DIY Whoop, alright, it's just prop guards, it's not ducted. There are at least 2 to 3 mm of tolerance there, alright. So that's something that I wished was a bit more forgiving. Didn't like it that the drone only came with the hub, right? This charging hub, yes, is for a battery. Yes, it takes Type-C. No, it does not fast charge based on your 5V 2A kind of charger. It takes a bloody long time to charge, right? Trust me on that. You will need I think 30 watt or 45 watt charger. So that's something that not everyone has. I had wished that they had included that in the package, but too bad. So I believe also DJI does sell it, so you're on your own on this, right? Before I get into flight, this is absent in the kit. This drone is marketed as something that is to give you free form of flying, and that means also it has besides normal and sport modes, it has manual mode. Guys, manual mode takes a long time to learn, alright? It is a very steep learning curve in DIY FPV, but DJI has helped you with simulators, with so-called training wheels that you can actually get into manual mode, but only half manual mode, right? So what does that mean? What am I talking about, right? In the camera settings of your goggles, you can actually unlock manual mode, right? I already have an episode about that. I'll put it right up here. So you can unlock manual mode, but there is also something called attitude lock, not altitude, attitude lock, meaning to say the attitude of your drone, yes, it's in manual mode, but the moment you push it to the maximum, it will prevent you from doing too high a degree, right? Full manual mode, if you were to deflect the sticks fully, your drone will roll, alright? So if you weren't ready for that, you will be having crazy spins and guaranteed a crash. Check out my playlist on manual mode, alright? I don't want to get into too much about that. So it has everything, but it came with, instead of a proper, so-called proper transmitter controller, it came with this, right? You know, there were so many speculations about the motion controller. I'll just be blunt, right, and share it to you about this, is that so many were thinking, hey, maybe DJI had too much overstock of this thing. Because let's be frank, it came with the DJI FPV, but it was also sold as a standalone item. Who's gonna buy this? I have no idea who's gonna buy this item, right? As a standalone for the DJI FPV. So it came with the avatar. I straight away bound my avatar to the controller, right, of my DJI FPV. Now I don't even know whether I can bind back to my DJI FPV. I haven't flown that fella for some time. But anyways, I've been flying with the controller. Give it a while, right? It flew great. Everything went as expected. By the way, I don't like the rates of the DJI Avatar. I've never liked the rates of any drone, right, except my own, because rates are very specific to you. You can also check out my previous episodes about how I came about my own rates. I can also share it with you later in the link. Rates are very personal to every person. Obviously they're personal. They are very personal to the individual, because it is how you react to the controls, and the outcome is whether what you expect it to be. Alright, so I've tuned it to what is my preference, and so the rates wise, I suggest that you give mine a go. It is softer in the center area of the sticks, right, to give you that ability to fly smooth for that cinematic scenes. But if you were to fully deflect, right, it is fast. I think it's faster than stock, right, for you to do more of those acrobatic stuff. But this isn't the drone for it, right? This is more of a cinematic feel kind of drone. I mean, yeah, the controller was absent. Instead, there was this. So after flying with the controller for a while, okay, Rahim, kinda do this for your viewers, give this fella a go. Guys, this is the most fun that I've ever had with a drone in such a long time, alright? Because this should not work alone. This is to be paired with the new goggles. Now, I think I didn't mention enough, but yes, this is to be paired with the new goggles, because this pair of goggles, Goggles 2, not FPV Goggles V2. The V2 is the one that came with the DJI FPV. Paired with the Goggles 2, because this has head tracker built in. What is head tracker? Head tracker is a thing that we all, the drone pilots, knew about the RC planes, which was very cool, because head tracker practically means you could be in goggles flying your RC plane, and whatever your view is no longer limited to what the plane is pointing at. But if you were in the cockpit and you turn your head around, you would be looking around, alright? And I did try a simulator that day, a plane simulator, just like this, really, right? I bang left, it banged the plane left, and I can actually still move my head around, and it was still banking left. But of course, a simulator, it was a full-scale, so-called full-scale simulator with throttle by the side, with pedals, right, to rudder and all that. And it had this fixed, right, fixed onto a specific placement. Not this lah, of course, the simulator joystick. The thing is, it's cool, right? I can bank right, left, but the thing is, I don't have a physical feel of it. I feel at times like I just want to be outside with like a spring platform that I can place it on, so that be resistance. I need that resistance to feel whether I'm pushing too much to the left or pushing to the right. If I'm conscious, yes, but if I'm banking and I'm looking around, right, I may not actually feel, my hand may actually just follow the way I'm tilting. Okay, let me move along. Rahim can really talk and digress a lot. So, the controller is now makes sense to me, right? By the way, go is trigger and you'll start moving. Bang left, bang right, and the drone will actually follow. Head tracker then gives you that when you tilt your head, you're actually looking to the side, and it kinda doesn't make sense at first. Then because the drone is still flying forward, how does it make sense? It's actually like this. When the drone flies forward, it's gonna tilt, pitch, and then move forward this way, because the thrust is going this way. Alright, simple aero stuff. Alright, nothing to do, no scientific shit here. So then when you actually tilt your head, the drone camera is not tilting. It is the actual drone is gonna tilt and face sideways and continue flying. So what you'll see in your image is actually tilted. right? It's interesting. I know it looks tilted, but here's the thing. Here's where switch on horizon lock, horizon steady. Not only will you have rock steady, but horizon lock. So the final image, no matter where you are looking, right, looking up, looking down, left, right, it will always be level. Now that is very interesting for me. Rahim, this is more than just a normal drone. This is actually a so-called, I could use this for really just sightseeing. Hear it from me in this angle. If you were to use a camera drone, right, like the Mini 3, can you do sightseeing? Yes, but it's not as immersive like an FPV drone. But an FPV drone is only going in a single direction that you are pointing it at. Alright, if you wanted to see something to your left, you point it to your left, and then you go that direction. Something on your right, bang to the right, go that direction. But something special about the Avata is that if I just need to continue moving forward, all I need to do in the with the motion controller, in the goggles, I see that circle, right? Just point at a specific subject, a direction to go to, pull the trigger, it's gonna fly towards there. Here's the thing, I need to keep that steady and so-called locked on to the subject or maybe the faraway building. Then when I wanna sightsee, I can look around. Oh cool, I'm flying over water. Oh, what's happening over there? Bank and turn. The view, you are still having the view, but now your drone starts banking. But that's the problem there also, because kinda like, I don't know, is it a male thing that we don't have enough wiring to multitask so many things? When I'm looking to the left, because I have no spring resistance, I tend to also bank. Subconsciously also bang to the left. So yeah, it's something that it's fun. Maybe I just need to get my head around controlling this, but finally having the motion controller makes sense. Now that's something that I never thought I would ever say, because I didn't give it much love with the DJI FPV. Didn't make sense to me. So okay, loved it. Okay, my phone just switched off. Okay, since I'm talking about the flight, what I actually see in my goggles is always the FPV feed. Alright, I'm glad about that. I am so happy that I did not have to adjust myself to what I see, because the DJI FPV would give me, if I put on horizon lock, if I put on rock steady, the image is always smooth, and then it kinda numbs the feeling of the responses I'm getting from the sticks. Horizon steady, even worse. No matter where I'm pointing the sticks in FPV mode, I feel like I don't know where the drone is going, right? So I'm glad that you only get the FPV feed in the goggles, but as I mentioned, I wished I could have seen what other settings were on, because I don't know what's the final outcome of the image, or I might have forgotten my settings. I will only see it at the end when I review the footage. Goggles 2, the interface has been familiar. It's the same as the ones on the Goggles V2 that were on the in the DJI FPV interface. So familiar, but yet there are additional controls. Very happy about that. Still getting used to the touchpad, swiping here, swiping there. Now that's I mentioned it, so-called a review of Goggles 2 versus the Goggles V2 in a previous episode. Now do check that out. I'll leave the link at the end of the episode. Maybe I'll mention about image quality. The FPV Goggles V2 came with, I think, 810 resolution, and it's higher on the Goggles 2. I can't really tell you whether I see a difference, because generally it's very sharp, of course, but it's hard to actually have a same consistent flight over the same period of time with the same lighting and then compare both goggles at the same time. I just can't do it, alright? It just can't be done. You may tell me that, Rahim, then why not just audience mode it, right? But the fella that is, let's say if I'm flying with the Goggles 2 and then somebody is audiencing in the Goggles V2, it's not the same, because he's gonna be receiving a different kind of image quality in the first place, right? Not exactly the same as what's being sent to the main pilot. Probably better since it's full HD, right, in the goggles. Let's just get into the elephant in the room, which is people have been talking about this one issue, which is the drone has been crashing out of the sky. Now, I've seen two types of situations. One, this fella, I'm sorry, I mean, credits go to you, whoever you are, but if I can put a link, I'll put a link down below. I watched this episode where he crashed his drone. He was also a reviewer. Immediately when he put into manual mode, he has flown the manual mode like easy, alright, for the past few sessions, but this one time he put the drone into manual mode, it immediately flipped and crashed itself into the ground, right? It's like full throttle kind of situation. And then he reviewed the data log, or was it DJI reviewed the data log? It mentioned that he was actually somewhere else and he was at full throttle or whatsoever. I mean, that's the first situation, and I kind of believe it was a reading error within the drone that caused it to crash that manner, alright? And then there's another video, another situation. OriginalDobo tried it out, right? It seemed to be a kind of like a yaw issue. So that I will put a link in the description also. He pushed the drone to its limit. Okay, going straight, U-turn, going straight, U-turn, at full throttle, U-turn. I think it was in sport mode, or no, I think it was in manual mode, right? Maximizing the speed, U-turn. He did experience some tumbles of the drone in air, but he managed to recover it. OriginalDobo, Ken, thanks for the review. It gave me a better insight about what this drone, the issues that this drone had, right? Did I experience this issue? Actually, I did not, right? In all the flying, I have to be honest, I did not push the drone to its limit. I kinda was reminded like the DJI FPV, right? Got some feedback. So they mentioned that, hey bro, you crashed your drone. Well, it wasn't supposed to fly that way. The DJI FPV is not capable of that and all that, right? It was purely pilot error when I crashed it. Kinda, so it made me tune. Yes, I appreciate the feedback, and I just needed to tune into what the drone was about. And so I kinda did that with this drone, where I realized that this was a indoor cinematic kind of drone, so I did not push it to its limit. I did kind of try a few flips and rolls, but I knew it wasn't meant for that. And anyways, I was having too much fun. I was having too much fun with the motion controller, right? Doing the sightseeing, right, with this drone. So flying it in manual mode, I kept it smooth. I am one that take pride in how I fly smooth, because us guys that were from the old DIY FPVs, right, we had minimal stabilization in our drones and we wanted great images, so we put our GoPro 3s, GoPro 4s, GoPro 3 lah for me. So the only way to stabilize the image was just fly smooth, right? You can see it in the image, the footage when you get it back, and it's like if you flew like shit, the footage is gonna be like shit. You wouldn't even want to upload it. It's like, ugh, what the F is this? We flew as smooth as we could, and so that's kind of my pride, and that's how I flew this drone, right? I flew it as smooth as I can, and it kind of became a norm, right? It's my habit to always just fly smooth. So I didn't really push the drone. Even when I'm taking turns, I'm taking smooth turns, as smooth as I can, right? I probably will just show you some, share with you some footage or maybe B-roll now about how I normally fly without stabilization, right? Of rock steady or horizon steady. When Ken pushed the drone, right, to its limits, that made me think about how the drone will react. Now, my whoops did not give this problem, right? But the Avata did. And I'm guessing it's just because it's too much of a weight for too little a power to handle it, right? You could already feel it in the throttle, like the response is soft. I'm not too sure whether it's tuning wise, but it's just soft. There wasn't really a punch to it. It's great for indoor work and close proximity work, because you don't want a throttle that is too sensitive. Like you take a 5-inch drone, if you don't have you don't have a good throttle control, just a bit on the throttle would mean you will be sending your drone to the ceiling. Alright, so I'm glad that it actually was soft on the throttle for the Avata, but it could also be that the motors are underpowered to handle the weight of this drone. Because sorry Ken if I made a mistake on this, but if I recall watching your video, right, he made sharp turns, right, just like this, really a yaw turn, changing the direction of the drone suddenly, and it fell kind of backwards, if I'm not wrong. It faced the sky or whatsoever. So that tells me that even at maximum thrust to control the drone again, it couldn't handle itself. It kind of tumbled, right? The thing is, you'd have to compare whether was he turning the drone and at full thrust, or was he just letting the drone stabilize itself. Because if you left the drone to stabilize itself, then it tells me one thing, something about the PID tuning. Alright, we, or at least myself, used to tune drones. This is a DIY. There's no camera there. It is actually a line of sight drone, and so I'm used to tuning drones, the PID of the drones in line of sight. It's kind of something that seems familiar, that when he did that, right, and the drone couldn't handle itself, it just tells me that maybe the tuning of the drone was never tuned for that. Is it a simple solution? Probably. Just tune it to the best that it can. But no, also different. You would tune a drone depending on the needs of the drone, right? So if DJI presumed that the drone was meant to be just for easy flying, right, nothing too harsh, no hard turns or flips or whatsoever, then it was tuned that way, and so it couldn't, right? It seemed that it couldn't handle when there was too much load, and the computer kind of couldn't deliver it to the motors to stabilize it. So that's why it would tumble. Ken pointed out that he managed to recover it, but we are seasoned pilots. I mean, given a situation in mid-air, probably we could pull ourselves out of it. This is a drone for everyone, the main general consumer. So I wish there was better tuning about that, or maybe better motors or something like that, right? Kind of not really well balanced. Still got two more pointers, which is safety of the drone. Ducted, prop guards, yeah, safe. Alright, wouldn't cause as much damage as like open prop drones. As safe as it can be. Also comes, of course, with the usual safety features that DJI have always put in, like return to home, and like there's also the same, there's a pause button even on the motion controller. There's a pause button, right? Just click on it and it will stop in its tracks in case you are in a bad situation. Oh, by the way, forgot to mention about the motion controller. There is one thing that is lacking, guys. Pull the trigger is moving forward. Moving the controller back does not reverse the drone. There is no option for you to reverse the drone with the motion controller. How you want the drone to fail safe? There are three types, by the way: return to home, hover in place, or land. Depending on the situation, for those that are new to drones, right, I just need to share with you that return to home is, as the name says, it just comes back to you. You can actually set the height that you want that to happen. Hover in place, who would want to set this? I would say maybe if you are in the open, right, out to sea on a boat and the boat is moving, you may want it to hover in place and you go and fetch the drone if there's a loss of transmission signal. Why do that? Because return to home may mean the actual point that where you were and you launched the drone, and then the boat shifted or whatsoever, right? So it may want to come back to that point and land. You will land on the water, by the way. And that's good game for you. Yeah, better to hover in place. Now the third option of immediate landing, you may want to check on that also, if the situation calls for it, suitable enough. What type of example? What if you were doing a range test, right? You wanted to push the drone within means of the law, that is, right, to push the drone to the maximum limit that it can go, and the moment that it loses signal from the transmitter or from the goggle, it will immediately land, and you feel that was the safest move, right? To go and fetch it over there, because maybe you're trying the besides maximum range, also how far the battery can go. Don't tell me that, oh, maximum range of my goggles was like 7 kilometers. You managed to reach there, and then remember that this is a range test. Oh, okay, it managed to clock 7 kilometers. Coming back, battery die. Drone crashes along the way. Would you want that? No, right? So maybe you wanted it to land wherever that it hit the maximum point until it loses signal, and that to you was the best option. Okay, so safety features for you, additional safety features. Okay, so maybe I'll just move along so that we don't waste more time. I think this episode is gonna be very long. It might as well have been a live stream. Okay, now I'm gonna get into the combos. If you buy this drone, for my friends that are already into FPV, right, digital FPV, they already have goggles, which is the Goggles FPV Goggles V2. I hate having to think, you know, it's always a mix-up between the FPV Goggles V2 and also the Goggles 2. Why DJI didn't you have to do you have to make the name like this? I know it's a next successor of your Goggles V1, right? Yeah, Goggles 1 with head tracker and all that. I know, but you could have named it something else. So anyways, this drone comes with 3 different combos, either standalone, which my FPV friends were mentioning if they were interested, they would probably just get that. The other 2 combos, either with the Goggles FPV Goggles V2 or with the Goggles 2. So I've already made my comparison in the previous episode, right, between the two, the differences. I kinda, a few have asked me, right, you did not come to a conclusion. I can't conclude, really. I'm just trying to be very neutral because I like my Goggles V2 very much. It's very comfortable to wear for myself. Some more, I wear specs, I can just slot it in. Life goes on. I can fly the drone perfectly fine. But now, the Goggles 2 has additional features like head tracker, which is only meant for this drone at the current moment. And then I'm looking at the connection to other drones. I'm waiting for the firmware or whatsoever. Possibly give me connection to the Mini 3. Then I would be able to also like have more creative shots. Maybe I don't need to worry about whether the sun's too bright. Now I'm in goggles and I'm piloting the drone, right? So I have not fully experienced to the maximum what this goggle can offer, so I can't say really which is the one I would prefer. Alright, so right now, of course, just based on long-term use, it is the Goggles V2, FPV Goggles V2. Alright, it was kind of interesting that they came about. I can understand the standalone, but for you to come with 2 different versions of goggles, I don't know why. I mean, like, if I bought the FPV Goggles V2 Combo, whatever the name is, right, it gave me that goggles. You would also get a motion controller, the Avata, and no this controller. So it's just for that experience. But I'm shortage of the full experience because, like I say, Goggles V2 would give you that enjoyable flight that I had, which was just sightseeing while I'm flying around, right? So mixed feelings. I really don't know what I feel about the goggles around the different FPV combos, but I think the clear separation is, of course, the cost. In Singapore dollars, I think it's around $200 difference, right? So that's a very steep difference in my opinion. But of course, the goggles are different, and there are, to me, I see there are more things in the Goggles 2 than the FPV Goggles V2. So, but of course, just mention that the line here is that if you are if you want to get into DIY FPV for cheap, so-called, right, currently in the market, all are carrying the digital drones are with air units. Air units are also for the FPV Goggles V2. Goggles 2, you'll have to wait because the air unit, so-called the rumored air unit 03 version, right, based on it will work with the OcuSync 3. So that's not even out yet. So that's the thing. That's why I say I haven't fully experienced what the Goggles 2 has to offer. So I can't say which is the one is the better or worse, the one I like more or less. Alright, it's too early to say. So I'll come with another episode on that later in the future. Anyways, really, I think this episode is way too long, way beyond what I wanted to initially review it, because I wanted to keep it compact. I am very sure it feels it's gonna be more than half an hour kind of thing, right? I'm getting uncomfortable about the overall length of time, but it has to be made. I have said what I needed to say. Right now, if you want my conclusion about what I feel about the DJI Avata, it's a great drone, right? I won't tell you to get it or not get it, but all I have to say, it is very capable, but you should fly it the way it was meant to fly, right? If you feel that you want to do acrobatic stuff, you want all the freestyle, flip-floppy stuff, mixed feelings, get the DJI FPV, and then maybe get yourself a DIY drone, right? Or you could totally start from scratch. But if you were already thinking about starting from scratch, I don't think you would have passed by my channel in the first place, right? Because I'm mainly talking about DJI's range of FPV drones. Coming back to the drone, very capable drone, safe, feels good to fly. Small quirky things like, yes, do get more props, spare props. Definitely get more batteries, right? Fly more combo when it's finally out. Cinematic stuff, ready for it. My take of cinematic is maybe dynamic scenes, controlled, structured, or should I say planned out, choreographed, whatever the word is for that, right? Cinematic. So if you wanted to do more cinematic settings, yep, filters are also ready for it. Currently, there are many fearful about the crashing issues, right? About the drone falling out from the sky and all that. There is no ever for sure a drone will never fall out from the sky, right? It will happen sooner or later. Just know that there is no perfect machine. There will always be working for you all the time, 100%. So this is just one of those things that bugs, right, about the this DJI Avata. But in my experience, having flown it for the past month, never had any issue. I just continued to fly it the way it was meant to fly. So kinda choose the right tool for the job. You want smooth cinematic scenes, and easy to fly, easy on the throttle, can have fun with the motion controller also, and the pair it up with the goggles too, then that's the combo for you. But if you think you want more aggressive stuff, you really want to do some freestyle and all that, right? This is not the drone for you, right? DJI FPV or DIY drones. Try to take on that path and share with me what's your experience about it. Anyways, let me know about what you think about what I have mentioned thus far. So what are your opinions about the DJI Avata? This has been my 1 month long review. I really didn't think about making it. I wasn't even sure how I wanna pull it off, and in the end I am here 12 midnight and talking to you, sharing what I think about the DJI Avata. And with that, I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. If you've liked this episode, do give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already. Chat with me. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Pilots, as always, I'll see you in the skies. Peace.